Mount Pelée. Mount Pelée is a semi-active volcano in the northern end of Martinique, an island in the Lesser Antilles island arc of the Caribbean. Local natives, the Carib people, call Pelée the Fire Mountain from previous eruptions in ancient times. Mount Pelée began its eruptions on April 23, 1902. The mountain caused a light rain of cinders on its southern and western sides, together with sharp underground shocks. On April 25th, the mountain emitted a large cloud containing rocks and ashes from its crater. On April 26th, the area was dusted by volcanic ash from an eruption, but the public authorities still did not see any reason to worry. On April 27th, several excursionists climbed the mountain top to find the crater filled with water, forming a lake of boiling water 180 meters across. On April 30th, two rivers swelled, carrying boulders and trees from the mountain top. The villagers of Précheur and Saint-Philémine received a steady stream of ash. At 11:30 p.m. on May 2nd, the mountain produced loud explosions, earthquakes, and a massive pillar of dense black smoke. Ashes and fine-grained pumice covered the entire northern half of the island. Livestock started dying from the hunger and thirst as their sources of water and food were contaminated with ash. May 8th, Ascension Day. A volcanic eruption destroyed the town of Saint-Pierre about 4 miles south of the summit. The upper mountainside ripped open and a dense black cloud shot out horizontally. A second black cloud rolled upwards, forming a gigantic mushroom cloud and darkening the sky in a 50-mile radius. The clouds were travelling at 420 miles an hour. A black and heavy pyroclastic surge hugged the ground and sped towards the city of Saint-Pierre, glowing hot from the inside. It consisted of superheated steam and volcanic gases and dust, with temperatures exceeding 1000 degrees Celsius. In under a minute, it reached and covered the entire city, instantly igniting everything flammable with which it came into contact. Legend has previously reported that out of the entire population of the city, there are only 2 survivors. On May 20th, 1902, a second eruption equal to the first one in both type and force obliterated what was left of Saint-Pierre, killing 2,000 rescuers, engineers and mariners bringing supplies to the island. During a powerful eruption on August 30th, a pyroclastic flow extended further east than the flows of the 8th and 20th of May. Although not quite as powerful as the previous 2 eruptions, the August 30th pyroclastic flow struck 4 towns and villages, and a tsunami caused some damage in Carbet. Mount Pelée continued to erupt until July 4th, 1905. Mount Pelée claimed the lives of 30,000 people. Krakatoa. In the years running up to 1883, seismic activity around Krakatoa was intense, with earthquakes felt as far away as Australia. Eruptions of ash reached an estimated altitude of 20,000 feet, and explosions could be heard in Jakarta, 99 miles away. Activity died down by the end of May, and there was no further recorded activity for several weeks. Eruptions started again around June 16th, with loud explosions and a thick black cloud covering the island for 5 days. On June 24th, an easterly wind cleared the cloud to reveal 2 ash columns discharging from Krakatoa. The violence of the ongoing eruptions caused tides in the vicinity to be unusually high, and earthquakes were felt 55 kilometers away. By August 25th, Krakatoa eruptions had intensified. At about 1 p.m. on August 26th, the volcano went into its paroxysmal phase. An hour later, a black cloud of ash 17 miles high could be seen. At this point, the eruption was virtually continuous and explosions could be heard every 10 minutes or so. Ships within 12 miles of the volcano reported heavy ashfall, with pieces of hot pumice about 10 centimeters in diameter landing on their decks. Between 6 and 7 p.m, a small tsunami hit the shores of Java and Sumatra 25 miles away. On August 27th, 4 enormous explosions occurred. At 5:30 a.m, the first explosion was at Port Boatan, triggering a tsunami heading straight for the Bandar Lampung. At 6:44 a.m, Krakatoa exploded again at Da Nang, with a resulting tsunami stretching eastward and westward. The largest explosion, at 10:02 a.m, was so violent that it was heard 1,930 miles away in Perth, Western Australia, and the Indian Ocean island Rodriguez near Mauritius, 3,000 miles away. The third explosion has been reported as the loudest sound heard in historic times. The loudness of the blast, heard 100 miles away from the volcano, has been calculated to have been 180 decibels. Each explosion was accompanied by tsunamis estimated to be in over 30 meters high in places. A large area of the Sunda Strait and a number of places on the Sumatra coast were affected by pyroclastic flows from the volcano. The energy released from the explosion has been estimated to be equal to about 200 megatons of TNT, roughly 4 times as powerful as the Tsar bomb, the most powerful thermonuclear weapon ever detonated. At 10:41 am, a landslide tore off half the Volcano volcano, causing a final explosion. The pressure wave generated by the colossal fourth and final explosion radiated out from Krakatoa at 675 miles per hour. The eruption measured an ear-splitting 310 decibels, loud enough to be heard perfectly clearly 3,100 miles away. Around noon on August 27th, a rain of hot ash fell around Kattenberg in Sumatra. Approximately 1,000 people were killed and there was no survivors from the 3,000 people located on the island of Sebesi. Human skeletons floating across the Indian Ocean on rafts of volcanic pumice washed up on the east coast of Africa up to a year after the eruption. And the aftermath of the eruption revealed that the island of Krakatoa had almost entirely disappeared. The surrounding ocean floor was drastically altered. The average northern hemisphere summer temperatures fell by as much as 1.2 degrees Celsius, and weather pattern continued to be chaotic for years. It was estimated that 36,417 people lost their lives that week, but some sources estimate over 12,000 people. Mount Tambora. Mount Tambora experienced several centuries of dormancy before 1815 when a very large eruption occurred on April the 5th, followed by thunderous detonation sounds heard as far away as 870 miles on the Malacca Islands. On the morning of April the 6th, volcanic ash began to fall in East Java with faint detonation sounds lasting until April the 10th. Explosions were also heard in Sumatra more than 1,600 miles away, and at about 7 p.m. on the 10th of April the eruption started to intensify. 3 columns of flame rose up and merged. The whole mountain was turning into a flowing mass of liquid fire. Pumice stones of up to 20 centimeters in diameter started to rain down at around 8 p.m, followed by ash at around 10 p.m. Pyroclastic flows cascaded down the mountain to the sea on all sides of the peninsula, wiping out the village of Tambora. Loud explosions were heard until the next evening on April the 11th. The ash veil had spread as far as West Java and South Sulawesi, and the eruption column reached the stratosphere, an altitude of more than 27 miles. An estimated 41 km cubed of pyroclastic rock was ejected, weighing about 10 billion tons. Before the explosion, Mount Tambora was about 14,100 feet high, one of the tallest peaks in the Indonesian archipelago. After the explosion, it measured only 9,354 feet, about 2/3 of the previous height. Uprooted trees mixed with pumice ash washed into the sea and formed rafts up to 3.1 miles across. Clouds of thick ash still covered the summit on April the 23rd. Explosions ceased on July the 15th, although smoke emissions were still observed as late as the 23rd of August. In the spring or summer of 1815, a persistent dry fog was observed in the northeastern United States. The fog reddened and dimmed the sunlight so much that sunspots were visible to the naked eye, and in London, the glow of the twilight sky typically appeared orange or red near the horizon. Volcanic ash was documented to be over 100 centimeters deep in areas within 75 kilometers of the eruption, whilst areas within a 500 kilometer radius saw a 5 centimeter ashfall, and ash could be found as far away as 13,000 kilometers. The eruption killed over 71,000 people. Huayna Patina. Early in February 1600, someone reported a booming noise coming from the volcano and a fog-like gas being emitted from its crater. By February the 15th, the activity had noticeably increased as earthquakes began to occur. By February the 18th, seismic activity occurred as frequently as 3 or 4 times every 15 minutes, with some tremors powerful enough to wake those sleeping. At 5 p.m. on February the 19th, Huayna Patina erupted violently, sending volcanic ash into the atmosphere. Observers described the event as a big explosion with cannonball-like explosions that had the appearance of enormous fire. River-like pyroclastic flows flowed down the mountain. The flows on the southern side mixed with water from the Rio Tambo to create lahars. 1 hour after the eruption, ash began to fall from the sky, and within 24 hours, Arequipa was covered with 25 centimeters of ash. Intermittent eruptions occurred for a little less than a month, concluding on March the 5th. When Huayna Patina exploded, it produced about 7.2 cubic miles of raining red-hot rocks, and pyroclastic flows traveled 8.1 miles to the east and southeast, and lahars, volcanic mud flows, destroyed several villages and reached the coast of the Pacific Ocean, 75 miles away. Ashfall was reported up to 310 miles away throughout southern Peru. It also had a major impact on the planet. Huayna Patina ejected 16 million to 32 million metric tons of particles into the stratosphere, noticeably sulfur dioxide, forming sulfuric acid and creating a volcanic winter which reduced the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth's surface. Scientists believe this contributed to bitterly cold winters, loss of crops and animals, and massive famine all around the world. As a result, People killed many animals with their bare hands to preserve their furs for warmth. Russia suffered the worst, with a famine which killed 127,000 people in Moscow alone. Regional agricultural economies took 150 years to fully recover. The total death toll as a result of the volcanic eruption was estimated to be around 2 million, with roughly 2/3 of Russia's population at the time victims. Laki. The sun fades away, the land sinks into the sea. The bright stars disappear from the sky as smoke and fire destroy the world and flames reach the sky. That's the description of the end of the world according to the Völuspá, a collection of Icelandic myths. On 8th of June 1783, Iceland, which had been inhabited for less than 1,000 years, had a population of 50,000. Sunday morning at 9 AM, 10,000 of those people would die. A 15.5 mile long fissure with 130 craters opened with ultravolcanic explosions because of groundwater interacting with rising basalt magma. Although this was not the biggest volcanic eruption, it was the most devastating. During the next 8 months, an estimated 14 kilometers cubed, about 3.7 quadrillion gallons of lava poured out from the erupting craters, which enveloped around 965 square miles of land. The outpouring of gases, including an estimated 8 million tons of hydrogen fluoride and an estimated 120 tons of sulfur dioxide, gave rise to what has since become known as the Laki haze across Europe. An estimated 20 to 25% of the population of Iceland died in the famine and fluoride poisoning after the fissure eruptions ensued. Around 80% of sheep, 50% of cattle, and 50% of horses also died because of dental and skeletal fluorosis caused by the hydrogen fluoride that was released into the Earth's atmosphere. The sulfur dioxide released by this eruption travelled to Europe, causing the deaths of thousands of people. The poisonous cloud drifted to Denmark and Norway and then spread to Prague in the Czech Republic by the 17th of June, Berlin by the 18th of June, France by the 22nd of June, and Great Britain by the 23rd of June. The fog was so thick that boats had to stay in port, unable to navigate, and the sun was described as being the colour of blood. It has been estimated that 23,000 British people died from the poisoning. The weather became very hot, causing severe thunderstorms with large hailstones that was reported to even have killed cattle. The summer of 1783 saw heat waves, extreme cold, widespread famine, crop failure, and livestock losses, and a crisis that might have even hastened the French Revolution. The following winter, record cold was seen around the North Atlantic. Temperatures in Europe were about 2 degrees Celsius below the average for the late 1700s, and the winter was one of the coldest of the past 500 years in North America. A huge snowstorm hit the south. The Mississippi River froze at New Orleans, and there were reports of ice flows in the Gulf of Mexico. It is estimated that the eruption of Laki and the meteorological impact on the planet, ranging from famine to drought, killed 5 million people. There we have 5 of the most deadly and destructive volcanic eruptions in the recorded history of our planet. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.